Hey everybody, this is Balance, bringing you another commentary from WCReplays.com. It's copyrighted, so don't steal it. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different for you guys. I'm going to try this out and see how you like it. With my previous commentaries, I've gotten some feedback saying that my, analysis of, in both cases actually, Moon's thoughts can't ever really be on target because I'm not Moon and I don't know what he's thinking. And a few of my friends who have listened to my commentaries have suggested that I do a commentary on one of my own games. At first I was very against this, as I myself am nowhere near the caliber of player that we typically do commentaries on here at the site. But I thought about it for a little while and I thought that I would give it a try. So I picked out an interesting game that I feel like is a very good example of one particular strategy. And I'm going to give you a rundown of exactly what I was thinking, as I know what I was thinking. So, we'll have a little trade-off here. The skill level will be a little lower in this game. I'm not nearly as good as the players in my previous commentaries, and neither is my opponent, but I will be able to give you a more exact analysis of the exact strategy that I'm talking about. So we'll see whether or not that appeals to you. Feel free to give feedback. If you like this, let me know and I will do more. If you don't like this, let me know and I won't do any more of them, and I'll stick to my usual commentaries of the pros. So with that little introduction, let's get this started. This is a Night Elf vs. Undead again matchup, but this time I'm going to be showing you a strategy that will work against Fiends. So this will be against Fiends, and specifically on a heavily creep-oriented map, which in this case will be Terenas Stand. So go ahead and get the replay loaded up. Just for a little bit of background for you guys, I'm getting this replay loaded up here myself. This is a game that I played on West, which, like I said, probably less skill involved, right? West isn't exactly the hardest of servers, as we all know. Just give me one moment while I find this replay for you guys. Here it is. Alright, so yeah, this is a game I played on West against somebody. It's a 13-0 Undead he was at the time, some Smurf. There are a lot of them on West. So I have no idea who exactly he was, but he seemed like a pretty solid Fiends player. So I thought that this would be a good example of how you can beat a pretty solid Fiends player. In any event, I'm going to get this replay paused at the 15-second mark. I suggest you do the same. And there I am, paused at the 15-second mark. We're going to be taking a look at this from my perspective with 1x speed, Fog of War on. So go ahead and get synced up. And let's unpause with unpause in 3, 2, 1, and go. So we're at 18, 19, 20. So first of all, you can't just have a set strategy against Fiends, right? You can't know at the beginning of the game, unless you are playing a league match in which you really know your opponent, exactly what your opponent is going to do. So you have to be able to adapt based on what you see. Luckily, you can tell pretty easily from the Undead base what they will be opening. Sometimes what will look like a Fiend's order is actually a Dreadlord fast expansion, but that's pretty rare and usually not seen on a map like Terenas. A lot of times it'll be Temple, but even still, you can usually tell when that's happening just by leaving a wisp nearby, and just basically by seeing whether or not he's producing a lot of ghouls. So it's usually pretty easy to tell when they're going Fiends. In any event, like I said, you can't know that right at the start of the game. But Terenas Stand in general, I feel, is a pretty good map to open with a Tavern Hero against Undead. Like I said, it's a heavily creeping-oriented map, and it's also a very large map, meaning that the Undead is probably going to get to do quite a bit of creeping before you can even get to him, depending on, what order he goes. If you go Demon Hunter first and run straight to his base, you might be able to get there right away. But good Undead players will be able to minimize what you can do to them pretty effectively. As a Night Elf player with just Archers early game, it's fairly difficult to do serious creeping while you harass with your solo hero. So while the Undead can run to your base with a Death Knight and creep with his ghouls to level 2, it's harder to do that with just Archers. So given that, running straight to the Undead's base on a big map, knowing that they'll probably be able to still creep and that you won't be able to creep without your Demon Hunter there to help, running there right away on this map, in my opinion, is a little risky. You have to be pretty confident in your ability to screw up the Undead. So instead, I choose to go a Tavern Hero that will allow me to creep. Now, as you can see at the lower right-hand corner of the map, I have scouted his Fiends. And I was planning on going a Dark Ranger on this map to get up a quick expansion and to mass range units of various sorts, depending on what units he goes. I switched that up to a Beastmaster at the last second. I feel that Beastmaster is a pretty good choice against Fiends, and I'll demonstrate that in this game. The Dark Ranger, while not bad against Fiends, as Skeletons are obviously good against Fiends, does not do a whole lot of damage in and of herself. You know, you kind of have to kill a Fiend for her to start being effective with the Skeletons. And a lot of time it can be very difficult to even kill one Fiend. Whereas the Beastmaster provides you with early game strength with the bear. If you can get your Beastmaster to level 3 and you have a level 2 bear well before he has destroyers out, that bear is very, very useful, and you can use it to do all sorts of things. A lot of times you'll have that level 2 bear just at a point in the game when you would otherwise be vulnerable to a push by him, and having 2 level 2 bears out at the same time, which you can do if you manage your mana correctly, will give you a very nice chance at being able to fight the Undead off, and often be able to pick off Fiends with the Bear's Bash. So, that is why I've chosen to go Beastmaster here. And you'll also see that the Beastmaster is obviously a very good hero for creeping. I can creep very aggressively with the Beastmaster, which is exactly what I'm doing here. You'll notice a second ago I actually used the bear to solo creep the little green camp as I crept the yellow with my Beastmaster and archers and AOW. AOW creeping is always a good choice on this map, unless you're really afraid that it's going to screw you up. If you're really fearing like an orc tower rush or a human tower rush, for example. It's a really nice move on this map. I've talked about the benefits of AOW creeping in previous matches. It's good for Tavern Heroes too, in addition to just the Demon Hunter, as you saw. So I'm going to go ahead and creep these 3 camps in a series here, getting the quick level 3 that Terenas stand provides. And in the meantime, the other benefit that the Beastmaster provides you, especially early game, is it gives you the Hawk, and the Hawk is a fantastic scouting tool. So you notice as soon as I got to level 2, I summoned out that Hawk, and I'm going to send it over to him to see what he's doing. So I have a sense of what's happening here. You'll notice that I didn't quite reach level 3. That was because I made a slight error with my Ancient of War and let it get a final hit on the creeps. This is another example of how I'm a noob. However, you don't have to do that in your games. See, we can still learn strategy here, even if I execute it poorly. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and creep this other quick green to grab level 3. Which I now have. And now at this point, I'm in a pretty strong position with the bear. So my thinking here is that I want to use, at this point in the game, I'm thinking that I want to use this advantage that I have. I'm probably a little higher level than him. I just found him creeping on the lower side, and I believe I saw there that he is still level 2. Or at least I know now for sure that he's level 2 as I see him here. I know that I have a slight level advantage, and I know that that with the bear I'm going to have an advantage over his Fiends. And so I'm gonna grab items to make sure that I can save my units. I'm going to grab a Panda second, which the Panda, while not immediately good right at level 1, like not as good as say a Naga, will be a pretty strong late game hero here. And I've decided to play for the late game, which I feel like is one way to go against Fiends. You know, Demon Hunter Naga, for example, is a very aggressive combination that can give you a lot of map control, but if you don't execute it well, if you're not able to actually harass the creeping and harass the Fiends, and they get a level advantage on you, the Demon Hunter Naga gets very, very difficult to win with. And a level 1 Panda, as you see, isn't all that bad. Level 1 Breath of Fire isn't horrible, so I know that I have a good army here. And so I'm going to go ahead and run straight to him and see what I can accomplish, and sure enough, I found him with some weak Fiends.